Thank you, Dr. Kalibata, for those inspiring words. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce a fireside chat between Chen Lei, our chairman and CEO, and Mr. George Yeo, our director. Lei has been part of the Pinduoduo story from day one. A data scientist with a PhD in computer science, he served as Pinduoduo's Chief Technology Officer since 2016, and in July 2020 transitioned from the key CTO role to become our CEO. In March this year, he became the chairman of our board. Mr. Yeo has had an illustrious career in public service as Singapore's Foreign Minister and Trade Minister, among other portfolios, and is currently a visiting scholar at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at the National University of Singapore. Mr. Yeo is an independent director on our board, chairing the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee, and we have all benefited immensely from his wealth of experience and counsel. Without further ado, here's Lei and Mr. Yeo.
Thank you everyone for joining us at our inaugural Food System Forum. I look forward to hearing from all esteemed experts we have invited, and I hope to leave with new ideas and new insights. And now, joining me for this fireside chat is our independent director, George.
I was invited by your predecessor, Colin, to join the board some years ago. At that time, I didn't know what Pinduoduo was doing. But I was very impressed by the vision. In the last few years, it's been wonderful to see the way Pinduoduo has been growing. And as an independent director, making sure that the systems that we have in Pinduoduo can catch up with the growth. But what's really amazed me is the way agriculture has become so important to Pinduoduo. I'd like to find out from you, Lei, how you got involved in this and why have we become so interested in agriculture?
Hey, George, and because all our founding team actually is from a technology background, so we always believe that technology can give us a new way and new power to approach some very difficult and complex problems. And there are three key factors which can explain why Pinduoduo choose to select agriculture as the area in which we'll put a lot of effort on. And the first, I think, if we compare different sectors, agriculture is definitely has the lowest level of digitization and modernization. And definitely it will benefit a lot from the inclusion of the digital economy. And the second, agriculture touches everyone since everyone has to eat. And so even a very small technical breakthrough will generate a big impact which will benefit a great number of people, and that will include ourselves. And third, we started Pinduoduo with a goal to make some positive impact over society. And agriculture is definitely one of such areas where we can use our current scale to do some good. However, I think for agriculture, I think in order to be successful, only ourselves is not enough. We really need to involve all the stakeholders, and that will include local governments, agricultural experts, and all the farmers. And in the past several years, I have been always thinking about how can we turbocharge this development on this front. And George, since you have been working in the public and the private sectors over all your career, so can you give us some insight? How can the public and the private sectors, how can they work together to foster innovations in the agriculture system?
Well, I think you're right, Lei, that involving all stakeholders is extremely important in making a success of what we are doing. In all countries, the people involved in agriculture are very conservative. because it takes time. It takes time to grow rice, it takes time to grow a fruit, and people need predictability. And therefore, when we introduce change to agriculture, people can be very upset if they don't understand the reason for the change and if they don't understand what benefits it will give to them. Therefore, public-private cooperation in agriculture is absolutely important. And I'm glad that Pinduoduo, in all our work, we work closely with local government officials, with farmers, so that whatever we do is win-win for everybody. And even then, there will always be unexpected things happening. But what amazes me, Lei, is how we're able to attract young people, young talent into agriculture. When people leave the rural areas, they go to the cities. They don't want to go back to the farms, to dirty their hands, to do manual work. But now it seems that with technology, with a new platform, we are able to attract young people back into agriculture. And you were telling us at a board meeting about PDD farm, Toto farm. Can you tell us a bit more about this? How we're able to attract young people into this sector, and what are the interesting ideas that we're working on?
Hi, George, and you have raised a very important issue. Yes, I believe that the key to modernize agriculture is people. We need to have people, we have to have the human capital that can use technology, that can really have confidence over technology. And we need to teach farmers better ways to grow food and how to sell food to the market through new digitized channels like Pinduoduo. So actually, this is one of the reasons why we started this Duoduo Farm project. It's part of our poverty relief initiatives we started in early 2019. It started from the Yunnan province. And in this project, we work with local governments, we work with agricultural experts, and we adopt a systematic approach that addresses the value chain from upstream to downstream. And it started with organization of farmers and tell them what kind of crops they can grow and how to grow them efficiently, and in the end, how to sell their product to the end users and end customers. And by doing this, by help farmers to adopt new technology, I think it is very important that they understand that technology can really bring significant change. They will make technology can make their life better. They will bring profit to their new lives. So they will have confidence to adopt them in the future. And the other thing you raised, I think, is about new young people. Yes, I think by making agriculture attractive to younger generation, this is very important, and it will definitely support the modernization of the industry in the long term. I think Singapore is an interesting case study. It has shown that the technology can enable a small country to build a valuable agriculture sector. And Israel is also another fascinating example. So what do you think, what's the key ingredients behind all their successes?
Well, Lei, normally we associate agricultural technology with big agricultural businesses that only they can afford to bring in scientists and technology and apply it on a large scale. But what Pinduoduo has done in Yunnan, to me, is incredible, because we're bringing technology not to big multinationals, but to small players, to apply smart agriculture to relatively small farms. So when you talk about Singapore, well, that resonates with me, because Singapore is a tiny place, and you do not associate Singapore with agriculture. You associate Singapore with skyscrapers, with dense population living in the city. But Singapore may not be big enough for agriculture, but Singapore is big enough for seeds and for the development of seeds, for the selection of seeds. Singapore has always been a kind of a nursery for seeds, which can be in biotechnology, which can be in ideas, which can be in finance. And therefore, when Pinduoduo talks about applying technology and AI to agriculture, I think Singapore can be a very interesting place to work with. There is a lot of potential for Singapore and Pinduoduo to work together. You mentioned Israel. Well, Israel started as an agricultural country. And the history of the kibbutzes is about agriculture in Israel. And because the country is dry and mostly desert, the conservation of water is extremely important, and which is why drip irrigation is an obsession in Israeli agriculture, to conserve water. And you've got to apply that water intelligently so that every drop counts. Every drop counts, every square meter of land counts. So in a sense, by working with small countries like Singapore and Israel, we bring hope to smaller farmers in China and to the world that you don't have to be big to be productive, to be able to market far and wide. And what we're doing now will be of great interest to the whole world. But maybe, Lei, you should talk to us about our strawberry competition and how with the application of a few drops of technology, we're able to improve productivity by a remarkable amount. I think this will be of great interest to our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, George, you talk about the seed of technology. I totally agree with you. So I think technology is a very powerful force multiplier. So in the last year, we have this, our first smart agriculture competition in which AI teams competed with traditional farmers in growing strawberries. It is in the environment of smart greenhouse in Yunnan province. So actually the result is quite promising. And the AI team used precision technology, precision farming technology. They delivered almost 3 times as much yield and generated about 80% ROI compared with the conventional farming practice. And more than that, after the competition and some of the winning teams, they actually worked with farmers to bring their technology to even wilder adoption. And I think through this, we hope to nurture effective technology solutions that will bring in real-world farming, and also they will bring in new benefits. And actually, we will continue this practice. And this year, we will hold another competition that will include more global teams. And actually, we sort of widen our goal for this competition. And this year, we are not only focused on yield and efficiency, we will also focus on quality and the nutritional profiles of all those fresh produce.
You know, Lei, I hope one day I get a chance to eat Yunnan strawberries and to eat strawberries grown by AI. Have you had them before?
Actually, I personally tried that. I think you definitely should try that. It's really hard to tell the difference between the final produce from different teams. So I think that's really promising.
As society becomes more middle class, people want variety. In Singapore, we get our fruits from all over the world. We get our mangoes from the Philippines, from Indonesia, from Australia, from India. We get our strawberries from different parts of the world. And it'd be wonderful if from different parts of China, we're able to import strawberries of different kind, fruits of different kind into Singapore. But people are always concerned about food safety because we do not know what local conditions are like. If the food is from a big company, we say, okay, the brand establishes the trustworthiness of the supply. But how do you see Pinduoduo creating a system where we can increase people's trust in agricultural products, which may come from places far away, which may come from small farms, which may not bear names which we are familiar with? How do you see Pinduoduo creating such an ecosystem of trust?
George, you raised a very important question. So indeed, the consumers are becoming more and more aware and demanding about the quality and safety of their food. And how do you give customer assurance that they are getting something which is good for them? And how do you make sure that they are getting those products in a good state? We definitely need technologies here. For the first part, actually, in the past, we worked with Singapore A-Star to develop low-cost test kit for vegetable pesticide residues. And by making the technology more widely available, and we can increase the testing process across the whole supply chain and improve the quality of the food sold to end consumers. For the other part, take an example about plant-based meat, which is a very, very hot sector which enjoyed very rapid growth in the past couple of years. But there's a very important question here is, how do we know that these products are actually good for us? So in Pinduoduo, we carry out a study on health impact of these new foods so that our consumers can make more informed decisions. And I do believe that they will help them to shift to a more healthy and more sustainable diets.
The sooner we can create a system where consumers increase the trust level of the products they consume, the better it will be. And since Pinduoduo is not by itself the agency regulating food or ensuring food safety, it would be good if Pinduoduo over time can establish a relationship with agencies which can certify the quality of food. And I was happy that you mentioned that you are working with A-Star in Singapore. Singapore, by and large, enjoys a very high trust rating in the world. When I was Minister for Trade and Industry, I negotiated free trade agreements with many countries. And we were able to negotiate mutual recognition of standards with the US, with Europe, with Japan, and to some extent with China. This is very important. It will take time, of course, but removing the doubt in people's minds that perhaps this is something new, perhaps we should be cautious. Being able to remove that doubt is very important. However, the other issue is cost. I mean, we may have a fantastic product, it may be very safe, but if it costs a lot of money, there won't be a market. So the important thing here is that we must have good logistics and an efficient cold chain. I know in the past, Pinduoduo would depend on other logistics players, but the market does not meet all the needs that we have. And I know that Pinduoduo is now investing heavily in building up certain logistics capabilities to fill in gaps in the market. Can you tell us a little about how Pinduoduo is going about to provide better logistics in agricultural products, and therefore to lower the cost to consumers, and therefore to create a win-win situation for both farmers and consumers?
So George, the need for a safer and more efficient logistic networks Actually, this need comes from two parts. The first part, if you take a look at China, every year about 10% to 50% of the fresh produce, actually they will go waste during the handling and transportation and due to the lack of cold chain infrastructure. But on the other end, consumers are demanding to buy fresh produce online, and such kind of needs are really taking off for the past couple of years. And that is exactly the reason why we started Pinduoduo Grocery last year. So we see here is technology really make the cold chain smarter and more affordable, and in turn actually that also accelerate the rollout of a whole cold chain system for the ecosystem. And for our part, we also file patents for a series of patents for a proprietary cold chain logistic network system. And I do believe that this is a clear example about how technology can help to make the food system more resilient. And I also noticed that actually in the upcoming UN Food System Summit, there will be a lot of discussion about making our food system resilient to shocks and stresses. So George, I actually have one more question here. So how do you see COVID-19 affecting global cooperation in terms of fixing the food system? Is there any silver lining in here?
COVID has been a stress test on the entire world. And under conditions of stress, people can either behave well or behave badly. In times of crisis, do we share or do we become selfish? And we can see among our friends during COVID how they behave. We can see among companies how they behave. We can see among countries how they behave. And during COVID, people are afraid. People stock up on food, toilet paper, and people are beginning to grow more food in their own locality. Even in Singapore, which is a city, so many people are now turning to gardening and growing vegetables at home. Of course, we will never be able to produce enough vegetables for our own needs. But even the government has set a goal of Singapore being 30% self-sufficient in vegetables in 30 years, the 30 by 30 plan. What Pinduoduo is doing in terms of Pinduoduo Grocery, Pinduoduo Farm, will attract a lot of attention in the world. I remember attending a webinar organized by the World Bank where Pinduoduo made a presentation on what it was doing. And I could tell that from the audience, there was very keen interest. Of course, every country has different circumstances, but there are lessons to be learned from China's experience, both positive lessons and negative lessons, but important lessons for themselves. And most valuably, what Pinduoduo has done to improve agriculture in China will give hope to many people in developing countries that agriculture in their countries can also upgrade. That their fate is not to be bought over by multinationals, but by people farming more intelligently, with more technology, with better logistics, and with an international platform. They can maintain traditions, they can maintain a way of life, and at the same time being connected to the international market and enjoying a better life for themselves. So I, as an observer, because as a director, I'm not directly involved in the work that you do, although I watch what you do with the greatest fascination, I feel optimistic. But I know there are a lot of issues. These things are never easy. These are complex systems. There are a million things to worry about. And if I may ask you, Lei, in turn, what you see to be the big challenges ahead for us, and whether you're very optimistic about the way the future is unfolding.
So I do think that the big challenge, and I think there are a lot of problems, difficult problems, complex problems. But the first thing is we really need to work together. We need to put our heads together to think about solutions to benefit the people. So one observation is that I have for almost all my sort of entrepreneurship career. So change can happen at a much faster pace than we expected. And now, if we look at every point of the food system, from growing to distribution and to consumption, we are seeing technology can really help to create better resilience over all kind of difficulty, all kind of challenge. And that is exactly the reason why we have this forum. I hope that we can take away valuable insights from it, and I hope that we can be inspired to do our part for the benefit, for the development of this agri-food system. And thank you, George, for taking the time to share your insights with us over this fireside chat. And I wish you all a fruitful event ahead.